Hi folks, Mark Anthony with Temporary Labs. Today we'll be taking a look at Thermaltake's brand new full tower chassis, the Armor Revo. For those of you that are familiar with Thermaltake, you may recognize the iconic look of this case, which is the Armor series. Originally released back, I think, in 2005, the Armor series has been a great case for them. I actually have one of the originals and still use it today. So I was excited to see this case come in. It'll come in two different versions, black and of course the Snow Edition, which is white, which happens to be the version that we have here. So before we take a look at the nuts and bolts of the case, let's just a real quick word about packaging. The box is very sturdy, very well made. The styrofoam is more than adequate to safeguard the chassis in transit. It arrived here with no dings, no scratches, no dents. I know that there's nothing more disheartening than ordering a brand new chassis for it to show up damaged in some fashion, but it's good to see that Thermaltake's taking the extra step to make sure the packaging is more than adequate to ship this product and then it gets to you in the way that you intended it to get to you. So let's get into this and see what we got. So now we got the Armor Revo out of its packaging. We'll just kind of take a quick look, a quick spin here from an aesthetic standpoint, and talk about some things. Of course, this wouldn't really be an Thermaltake Armor series case without these iconic front armor plates, or fins as some people call them. They're definitely present on this case, and they actuate, or they work very similar to how they've worked in the past. So that's good to see that these are on here. You're either going to like these, you're going to hate these. This is kind of a personal preference thing, but for those that like, I think they've done a great job here with it. On the side panel window is kind of an interesting design. It's not kind of flat, rectangular, but it's got a nice kind of angular look to it as it wraps around the 200mm side intake fan. The case has got a good look to it. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and just hop into this. We'll start in front of this, and we'll kind of work our way around. On the front of the case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5¼ inch external drive bays, and then you've got the front grille. Again, I've already kind of talked about these front armor plates, and they do work as they have on previous armor cases. Let's go ahead and pop this off and see what's going on behind here. First of all, the front of this case comes off extremely easy, which is nice because not that you really need to have the front of the case off very often. I know some cases it's kind of a bear to pull these off, and you're always kind of concerned about things breaking, especially these the locks or the snaps or whatever that holds these front cases on. This comes off very easy, goes on very easy, so that was that was a plus. Again, the armor plates or the fins in the front work as they have on previous versions. I will say that they seem like they're very well placed. They're in there pretty good. They've got a nice solid feel to them. One of the issues that I know I had an issue with my original Thermaltake armor case was that these fans were held in there with magnets rather, and they were kind of flimsy. You know, you'd have some higher RPM devices in there that would kind of create just the perfect vibration to cause these things to rattle. I don't see that being the case here. They're kind of in here, which is good to see, because that was probably one of the negatives that I don't like about my original armor case. But on the back here, we just have access to the 4 or 5¼ inch external knockouts rather, that you can kind of pop these out and put in, accommodate however many devices you plug in here. But other than that, there's not much else going on in the front of this. It's very sturdy, it's very well made, it's not flimsy, so it's got some good weight to it. All in all, front of the case, it's good. Behind the scenes, we've got this mesh fan filter for this 200mm intake fan that's on the front here. It's good to have these. It's becoming more and more of a common thing that you find on at least decent and higher end cases. You have these filters on these intake fans. And that's definitely up in here. This is removable. You can pop it out. Behind it is a 200mm color shift intake fan. By color shift, I mean it has the ability to change. You can change using one of the switches up here on the top. Change the color of the front intake fan between red, green, and blue. It's a nice feature that Thermaltake's kind of had on some of their other cases. Which is nice, because it's nice to be able to purchase a case and not have to gut the stock fans right out the gate just due to the pure aesthetics. It's a little disheartening to have to do that just because you might be going for green or you might be going for red. I can completely understand pulling fans out from a performance standpoint, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it's just a shame to have to waste that kind of money. So it's good that they put that in here, that you can shift the color of this fan without having to pop it out or having to replace it.
Outside of that, in the front, there's really not much else going on. So moving around here to the side. On the side of the case, we've got here, what I want to kind of draw your attention to is a headset holder. Just pop this down, hang your headsets on here. This is becoming more of a common thing in Thermaltake. I think we saw there something very similar in the Level 10 GTS case that we reviewed a few weeks back. On that particular model, the headphone holder was removable. On this one it is not, but just flipping it up and down. That way you can have it out of the way when you need to. These are nice. I know they sound simple, but these are nice because it's nothing, you know, it's kind of annoying to have those headphones kind of be in the way or in your desk or the cords or whatever get in your way when you're not using them. So it's kind of nice to be able to put these up and out of here. Again, on the side here, this is your side panel window. Kind of an interesting design as it kind of wraps around the 200mm side intake fan. The side panel is held on with 2 thumb screws, which is pretty standard on on a lot of cases. So I'll go ahead and pop off the thumb screws and we'll pull this side panel off. Take a look at what's going on inside. So it just kind of swivels out and pops off. On the back side of the side panel, we've got a 200mm intake fan. This one is not color shift. It will not change colors. It's just standard black, kind of a standard black intake fan, 200mm intake fan. Here we've got pressure sensitive contacts which drive the power for this fan. It's nice because when you pop off the side panel, if you happen to have to do that while the system is running, these side panel fans, if they're hardwired, it's really annoying to have to deal with that power cable, especially if you like to keep things nice and tight, which typically means you don't have a lot of slack in the power cable. Having this pressure sensitive contact right here that will disengage on its own and pull the side panel off is nice to have. Now behind the 200mm fan, and I doubt you can really see it, there is a filter for this there is a fan filter for this intake fan. Now it's not removable without having to take the screws out, but it's there, so that's nice to have. That's about it on the side panel, so we'll get this kind of out of the way and keep going on with the case review. So now that we have the side panel off, you can kind of see the innards of the case. Here are the toolless holders for your 4, 5 1/4 inch devices here. Down here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 internal 3.5 inch drive bays essentially for your internal devices, and these work just like drive carriers. If you're familiar with external drive carriers, this works very similar. There's actually, you just pop this button off, slide the arm over, and the drive carrier slides right out. These drive carriers are nice. They're light. They're not real flimsy, which is good because in some cases where you get these drive carriers, it's nice to have them, but if they're cheap and they're not well made, sometimes they break. Sometimes they don't work as well as they should. So it's good to see that these are good and sturdy. The other nice thing about these is that they have holes in them, and I don't know if you can see them, but they have holes here that accommodate 2.5 inch devices. So if you happen to have a mixture of 3.5 inch spinning drives or 2.5 inch SSDs or something like that, you don't have to have any of those awkward converters to convert a 2.5 inch device to a 3.5 inch bag, because these drive carriers that come with this case automatically have that built in. So that's another nice feature. Once you've installed your devices, it just kind of slides right back in there and locks in place, and that's it. The nice thing, the way that these are oriented, is they sit behind this the 200mm intake fan that's in the front of this case, so it draws all that nice cool air across your devices. So if you have some higher RPM devices, say you've got some 10K Raptor drivers or something like that in there that generate a lot of heat, it's nice to have that airflow to kind of pull across those devices and keep them cool. Okay, so looking further inside this case, I don't know if you can see them, but you've got all these rubber grommets back here on this motherboard panel. The rubber grommets are nice for cable management. So once you mount your motherboard in there and you want to run your cables, you can tuck all your cables behind this tray via these rubber grommets that are here. Again, this is a nice feature to have. Not only does it create a clean look, but it also promotes airflow by having less things in the way that are going to block your airflow. So that's a great feature, and it's nice to have. this would be where your power supply would reside, down in this panel here. So your power supply would go here. In this area here, you have the ability to mount an optional 120 mil intake fan that you can pull in air. Now there is a filter on the bottom of this that slides right out, removable, so you've got a filter for not only your power supply intake fan, which would be at the bottom here, but if in case you install this optional 120 mil fan, this filter here, and again it's removable and accessible while everything is up and running and closed. So you can just kind of get, as long as you get to the back of the case, you can pull that filter out and clean it when you need to. Up underneath here, you've got a 200 mil intake fan up at the top, if you can see it, but it's up here and it's a color shift fan. So like the front, you have the ability to shift the colors of this top intake fan between red, green, and blue. Again, great feature and nice to have, so that you don't have to waste the money. Now this, I guess we'll go ahead and spin around. Well, around the backside, but before I do, on the backside you've got this 140 mil exhaust fan that's on the back panel. So I'll see, you can see it there. So I'll spin it around the back. We'll take a look. On the back side, not a lot of excitement here, but it's the back of the case. What do you expect? But some things to draw your attention to. You've got some rubber grommets here at the top. There's 3 of them, really meant for water cooling. This case is not stock water cooling, meaning that it doesn't come with anything that you can use to set it up for water cooling. However, you can add aftermarket water cooling. So if you wanted to run some external radiators or any kind of external water cooling, you can mount them back in the case via these rubber grommets. Speaking of water cooling, again, on the side I pointed out that there was a 200 mil intake fan on the top of this case that can be removed to then accommodate a 240 mil radiator on the top here. And the holes are already drilled in the top, or drilled to this top mesh. So mounting this 240 mil radiator up underneath here is, there's no case modifications that have to occur. So that's a great feature that if you want to buy this case and want to either intend on doing water cooling right off the bat or add it at a later date, it's pretty much set up to accommodate a moderate water cooling setup. So again, going to the back, here's your 140 mil exhaust fan. Here's your panel for your motherboard outputs. Here are your expansion slots. This would be where your power supply goes. Now on this side, I've removed the panel for the purposes of this video review, just so you can kind of see what's going on back here. Again, these are these rubber grommets that I pointed out that offer the ability for cable management. This is the back side of the motherboard tray. This tray is not removable. In some cases, that's the case. In this case, it is not. Now, the access panel for getting behind the CPU is rather large. So even though this is not removable, it shouldn't be a problem with this large access panel to get the back of the CPU to install an aftermarket CPU cooler. These are all the cables for the case, various cables that power the case fans, your USB connectors that are up top here. You also happen to have a hotspot bit here. I'll discuss a little later. All these switches. So these are all the internal cablings that feed the case. Before I go to the top of the case, I'll see if you can see it, but on the bottom you've got these feet that can actuate out and in. So that's nice to create a nice stable base for your PC. So that's pretty much the back side. One thing I did want to point out, this is the back side of these drive carriers that we discussed earlier. If you've never had a case that has these carriers nor this orientation for the internal 3.5-inch devices, there's something to be aware of here. Once you install your devices, especially if they're once you install your devices, it puts the tail end or the connector end on the back side of this. Now, you've got about 1 inch between this and the panel once it's installed, which is kind of tight, especially, you know, well, not especially, but it's kind of tight. If you don't already own SATA cables that have 90-degree connectors on the one end, I would highly suggest purchasing them for this case. That way you avoid the scenario where you try to take a standard SATA cable, plug it into the device, put the panel on, and create a bend in the cable, which is not going to be good. Just a quick tip or a note that if you're looking to buy this case, you may want to source some SATA cables that have 90-degree connectors at least on the one end. You don't necessarily need them on the motherboard side, but on the drive side, have those 90-degree connectors for as many devices you intend to install in these carriers, you'll save yourself a lot of headache down the road if you purchase those out the gate. So we'll spin this around to the top, kind of take a quick look. Before we go to the extreme top of the case, I don't know if it's showing up in the video, but on the front here there's a design. This is not painted on, it's actually an LED. This LED will actually have a breathing effect. Since I don't have any power applied to this case, you can't see it, but this LED will pulse as a breathing effect. It's kind of a nice aesthetic, and I felt the need to point out. So on the top of this case now, looking at the very top of the case, starting on this side, we've got 3 switches. The first 2 here is high-low for your case fans. This switch allows you to modify or adjust rather the fan speed of the intake fans, the 200mm intake fans that are already installed in the case. Nice to have externally, not available on a lot of cases. It's nice to have that just, with one click of the button you can adjust the fan speed. If you're not playing games, you want to keep the RPMs down, keep the sound down, you can adjust that. The third switch on the side is fan LED. This is what manipulates the color shift of the 2 200mm color shift fans that are installed in this case between red, green, and blue. So you just click the button, change color. Interesting feature on this case that you won't find a lot is this hard hot swap dock rather for your drives. You can drop a 3.5-inch SATA drive onto this dock and hot plug it, write some data to it, pull it out, put another one in. Really neat feature, nice to have. Again, not something found in a lot of cases. Along the front here are your inputs. You got one for headphone, one for mic. You got an eSATA port, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and 2 USB 2.0 ports. On the right here, we've got a reset switch and a power switch. That pretty much concludes the video review walk around. All in all, this has been a great case. I hope this has been informative. We thank you for your time. We encourage you to visit us on the web at www.techwarelabs.com. Again, my name is Mark Anthony, and have a great day.